In this video, we're going to talk about how to increase one of the most important elements of coaching, which is trust. But first, I'm going to tear apart the worst sales advice you've ever gotten.
How do we get more clients? How do we create more of a magnetic energy? When it comes to sales, my experience is that most coaches have resistance to the sales conversation. I think it's because most people don't like the idea of being sold. Most people don't like the idea of being taken advantage of. I think most of us have experienced at some point in time in our lives, whether it's in the coaching industry or the personal development industry or buying a used car or anywhere else in our lives, we've experienced feeling like we got taken, feeling like somebody took advantage of us, that we bought something that we shouldn't have bought, or we regret it later, or what have you. Now, what's interesting about this, in my opinion, is that most of us enjoy buying things. We like getting stuff. But even though we enjoy buying things, we don't like being sold. And that's the connotation that I think works its way into our resistance to doing anything that looks like or sounds like sales, because we don't want that weird, negative, maybe creepy energy to be projected onto anybody else. In other words, we don't want to be the bad guy in the sales conversation, so we resist it a little bit. Because there's resistance when it comes to sales, what most people are trying to do is overcompensate for that resistance with some kind of safe sales script or some sort of way to always get people to say yes. I can't stand when people sell programs that will teach us how to turn every no into a yes. I can't stand it. Like really, I hate it. First of all, there's no such thing. It's so ridiculous to think that there's something that we can do to make all human beings say yes to the thing that we're offering them. Number two, you don't want all people to say yes to your stuff. If you're trying to get all people to say yes to your stuff, then your stuff is going to suck, because you have to have enough specificity for people to recognize when it's not for them. If your package, your coaching, your product is going to be good for somebody, it's going to be completely bad for somebody else from an alignment standpoint. So if you're trying to expand your reach or find the magical sales script that's going to get everybody to say yes, you're just simply following the wrong path. And I can't stand it. From an internal perspective, when we search for ways to get people to say yes, what we're telling our mind is that saying no is wrong. Them saying no, meaning when we hear no, that's a bad thing. So we try to avoid hearing the bad thing by trying to get everybody to say the good thing. And then we show up with our agenda. We show up with our fear. We don't want them to say no, so we want them to say yes. We really want them to say not no more than we want them to say yes. And if that doesn't make immediate sense, let me break it down just for a second. What most of us think we're doing is trying to get people to say yes. But what we're really doing is trying to not get people to say no, because we're afraid of no. This is what most people are dealing with. This is the fear of rejection. This is the fear of that scary little word called no. And when we have that fear, we're going to protect ourselves in the conversation. And we're going to do a couple things. Number one, we're not going to make it fun for us to be in these conversations. We're not going to it's not going to be inviting for us to be in these conversations. So we're essentially telling ourselves, don't get in there, because there's like scary stuff in there. And if we do get in there, make sure that we're not going to get a no. But we're also bringing that energy to the clients as well. But we're going to project our fear and our uncertainty and our protection onto the other person in the conversation. And if we show up protected, that means they are our adversary. because we don't want them to say no. So all of a sudden it's me versus you if I show up with this kind of energy. Let me go back to wherever I was. The reason I brought that up is because most people are searching for sales scripts. They're searching for strategies. They're searching for the surface level stuff. And that won't last. It will actually increase all the things that I just talked about. It will embed the idea that we need a script to overpower the lack of certainty that we have in the product, or that we need a script to overcompensate for the lack of belief that we have in the product, the lack of confidence that we have in the product, or the lack of value that the product actually has. Most people are looking for the scripts and the strategies to overcompensate for something that's missing. And I would rather you increase the thing that is low for you, or add in the thing that's missing. And then you can even use some of those same sales scripts and techniques. So I'm not saying anything bad about sales scripts and techniques and outlines and consultation guides. We offer those things. We teach those things. But they have to be on top of solid value. They have to be on top of certainty. They have to be on top of confidence. Otherwise, it's actually going to continue to embed the same resistance that we're trying to get the sales scripts dialed in to overcompensate for. That's what I want to help you get out of. So with this video and pretty much all the videos that I'm ever going to do for the rest of my life, we're talking about foundations. We're talking about fundamentals. Now, those are not usually the sexy things that people are looking for, but those are the things that work. And those are the things that you can adjust with and from. So if you just want short-term success, quick success, shortcuts, vanity success, then focus on trends and tactics. But if you want long-term foundational success, you have to focus on the fundamentals. And really what that means is you got to get really, really good. You just got to increase the value of your product, and then everything else becomes easier. So this video is the second ingredient in becoming a client magnet. The first ingredient is new. I'm not going to reteach it, but just to remind you to represence it here. New, N-E-W. You're looking for, out of the client, you're looking for a new philosophy, or a new possibility, or a new physiology, or a new pathway, or a new plan, or a new purpose, or a new passion. Those are 7 of the things that you're looking to help the client see something new, because when somebody has something new in their mind or in their body, it creates hope. And without hope, there's going to be resistance and probably a lot of sabotage. As the coach, we've got to bring that new energy as an explorer, because generally clients don't enjoy searching for things that are new and outside of their familiarity zone. So we are the ones that are bringing the new energy. And that leads directly into this ingredient number 2 in this video, which is understanding. Understanding. It's not about them understanding you, nor is it about you understanding them. It's about them understanding that you understand them. And that's a whole different level. So what we want to create is an understanding in them that we understand them. So they need to understand that you understand them. And the depth of understanding somebody is really critical to appreciate, and is really critical to fully grasp, especially in today's world. One of the things that's eroding in today's world is trust. People are distrusting everything out there. A lot of people have a default state of distrust. And a lot of it is because they've been taken advantage of online or directly in the coaching industry or somewhere else in their life. And you understanding them to the point that they understand that you understand them is one of the best ways to create trust. Now, if they don't trust you, then all the sales skills in the world are not going to help. You might be able to strong arm them into a sale. You might be able to manipulate their mind into a sale and get money out of them, but you're not going to be able to create any kind of transformation for them without trust. So this is about commanding trust and responsiveness, not demanding trust and responsiveness or demanding somebody's attention or demanding somebody's money. This is about doing what we need to do on our part, on our side of the fence, to command trust and responsiveness. And what that means in this context is you got to fully understand this person to the best of your ability. You understanding the person that's on the other side of the conversation is more important than you understanding the product that you're offering them. You understanding them is more important than almost any detail that you think is important or they might think is important. You understanding them in today's world is way more important than ever before. People are done just valuing information. The information age was a while ago. Not that there's not a whole lot of information out there and we're still in the middle of this, but people don't just blindly believe in and value and purchase information anymore. There has to be connection. There has to be trust. There has to be belief that this information is going to help change their life. And so what people are craving out there and what I think is missing the most is true, genuine understanding. And if you want to help somebody change their life, then you got to understand them. It's not about you trying to get them to buy a product that you have or buy a coaching package that you have, and then you just deliver that to them and off they go. And I'm not saying you can't have online programs and do it yourself, packages and stuff like that. Yes, but that needs to be built upon understanding. If it's just trying to sell information, it's going to be really tough. And I see this all the time where people are just trying to sell information. One of the biggest trends happening right now is, what I see at least, is a lot of people searching for, and therefore a lot of people offering, how to put together online courses. Online courses is the way to go, right? Online courses means you're going to get overnight income. You're going to get ongoing revenue. You're going to get reoccurring paychecks. You're going to go to bed and wake up and somebody will have bought your thing. And those are all really enticing and absolutely true. Absolutely true. I've created probably 25 online courses over the course of my time. And many of them are selling constantly. They're out there. People can purchase them and they can join, and there's Evergreen. If you're not familiar with Evergreen, it just means ongoing. And it's fantastic to get an email that somebody just purchased a product. That's fantastic. And what's missing in most people's attempts to create online programs is understanding the prospect, understanding the client, understanding the customer, understanding the person on the other side that's going through the online program. And if all you're giving them is information, we're done with that. That doesn't entice us anymore. It doesn't impress us anymore. You need to understand me because I want to change my life with this program. So this idea of understanding is really critical. And I got to be honest, I think the reason that most coaches, I'm finally going to be honest with you, the reason that most coaches that I see really struggle with online courses or struggle with sales or struggle with any aspect of this is because they don't want to take the time. They don't want to take the time to understand this other human that they want to serve. Now, if I was going to jump on my moral soapbox, I would say, how do you deserve anybody's business if they're not worth you spending the time to understand them? But aside from that, when it comes to the struggle itself, if you find yourself really sabotaging a lot and you find yourself not motivating yourself enough to get into action and do the things that you know you want to do, it's probably because your ego is more involved than your soul. It probably means that you want something to attain for yourself more than you want to give somebody else. And there's nothing wrong with having goals and wanting income and wanting lifestyle. There's nothing wrong with all of that. I've not seen anybody be driven by that fuel and create a fulfilling business. If somebody has, that's awesome. If satisfying the ego makes the soul happy, then it'll be the first time I've ever personally heard that. And it's not an either or. This is about using both of these together. But what I'm saying is that when most people are sabotaging themselves is because they're trying to use their ego as fuel. In other words, what can I get as the fuel to get over the humps and the obstacles? And it's just really, really difficult to do that. So understanding somebody will help. Understanding that there's another human on the other side of your conversation, whether you're typing in an email or speaking directly to the camera on a Facebook Live or on a YouTube video or writing a blog article, whatever it is, there's somebody on the other side of your communication. And the more you understand them, the more they will feel it. The more you truly understand them, the more they will feel it. So study them, talk to them, become them, meaning like become the avatar, become the profile of the person that you're wanting to seek or that you're wanting to serve rather. And where are they online? Join the Facebook groups that they're probably on. Read the online articles or magazines or watch the videos. Become them as much as you possibly can so that you can see the world from their perspective. Your most valuable asset in business is your seeker's perspective. I'm going to say that again because most people don't believe that. Your most valuable asset is your seeker's perspective. If you understand how that human is seeing the world, you understand what they're afraid of, you understand what they're frustrated by, you understand what they genuinely want, you understand what irritates them, you understand what they've tried before that has worked, what they've tried before that hasn't worked, what they would write a blank check for. If you understand your seeker's perspective, they will write your entire business model for you. They'll tell you what to sell them. They'll tell you how to package it. They'll tell you how to price it. They'll tell you how to name it. They'll tell you where to put it. They'll tell you everything. But most people won't, either because they don't know how or they don't think it's worth it or who cares why. Most people won't spend the time to fully understand the human on the other side of their communication. And that's one of the biggest reasons why most people struggle. So study this person as much as you can and coach them. Be willing to spend time with them and coach them. Get into conversations with them as much as you possibly can in the context that you want to serve them. And when they believe that you understand them, not only will they trust you more, and not only will they be more responsive to the communication, but they're so much more likely to buy your product or hire you as a coach, because if they believe that you understand their problems, then they're most likely going to believe that you understand their solutions. And if they feel jaded or taken advantage of by anybody in the past, it's probably because they feel like the other person didn't get them. They didn't understand them. So if I feel like people aren't understanding me, if I feel like I'm just not being served and you show up and you really get me, man, I'm going to be excited. I'm going to have hope that you might be the new ingredient and you might help me go down this path that I didn't even know existed. The two things that we want our seekers to think, to come up with inside of their own mind is that we get them and we got them. If I am somebody that's looking at your coaching or your product and I believe you get me and I believe you got me, you're probably going to get a client. Like I will probably hire you or buy your program. So that takes effort. It takes energy. It takes connection. It takes what most people won't do. So that's exciting because if most people won't do this, but you will, then you're going to create energetic distinction because you're actually going to care enough to understand the person that you want to trust you enough and surrender into your product or your program to help them change their lives. So how do we put this into action? I'm going to give you 3 things to implement this so that it becomes tangible and practical for you. Number 1, ask a bunch of exploratory questions. We've already talked about that in the previous video about creating the new energy. You'll hear me say this all the time. The best coaches are not the ones with the better answers. The best coaches are the ones with the better questions. Exploratory questions like, tell me more about you. Ask for their stories. Ask what they've tried before. Ask what they really, really want. Just turn into that little 3-year-old with childlike curiosity going, why or what, or tell me more, and how about that? If you show up with that kind of wonderment and genuinely care about their world, their worldview, they'll feel it. If you genuinely care, they'll feel it. The second thing is after you ask these exploratory questions, give them a receipt. And what that sounds like is some version of, so what I heard you say is. So let's say they tell you that they want to make a bunch of money or they want to lose a bunch of weight or they want to heal their relationship with themselves or their spouse or their parents or whatever. And then you can say, so what I'm hearing you say is that you're really committed to healing this relationship with your spouse. And you also mentioned that, you know, you want to lose some weight. And you also mentioned that you want to make some money. And you also mentioned that you want to increase your confidence and certainty, whatever it is that they told you. Do I have all that correct or am I missing something? That means you really care if you're asking them if you got it right. And a lot of times that's all they need to hear to know that you really care. But sometimes they'll hear what you say back to them and it won't feel right to them. And they'll go, actually, I don't really care about that. But what I really want is this. So sometimes it will help them clarify something even deeper by you giving them a receipt and just saying, what I really hear you saying is this. But the connection that can be created and the clarity and you fully understanding them enough to where you hear them, but they hear you hearing them. Because they need to understand that you understand you. It's priceless. And then the third thing is spend the time to create a full-on seeker profile with as much specificity as possible. Again, this is what most people will not do. This is, in my experience, the biggest strategic resistance that most coaches have. Because we just don't want to do it. We don't want to isolate a single person. And in my experience, 15 plus years doing this, we've made millions of dollars in this company. I had to file bankruptcy 3 years into this company because I stopped being specific. And then when I got specific again, the company started to succeed again. So I am coming to you from my pain. Even just saying that, what just lit up in my body is the memory of walking into the courthouse to file bankruptcy. One of the most humiliating experiences I've ever had. That's what just got lit up. That's where my conviction comes from. is not theory. It's just, this is what works. And this is what doesn't work for most people. So it's the number one reason that I see that causes most new coaches to fail. If you want support with that, we actually have a whole training on this. And it's all about how to get into your seeker's perspective. You can go to coachseansmith.com/seeker-training. It's a full-on deep dive. It's actually pulled from one of our marketing training courses, one of those online courses that I was telling you about. And it's a full-on deep dive. It'll help you identify who this person is. It's probably not going to be fun. It's probably not going to be comfortable. And that's why most people don't do it. So if you want to do what most coaches won't, you'll be in a better position to attract a lot of the clients that they won't be able to attract.
That's going to be a game changer. Now, if you like this video, check out that video right there where I talk about how to increase the value of your coaching products and services.
If you want to be a coach, like, you got to be in there. And way too many people value strategy more than their own distinction. And what's so interesting